And I think we're alive.
Nice. Awesome. Welcome back,
Alive.
Josh.
Welcome back to you, to me. We have been all over the world, all over the world. Florida, it's a wild place. That
All right.
Florida,
You have. I have not, but
it's a wild place.
I hear you have some stories for us later on.
As we were talking about a little bit before the stream started,
Yeah.
when you're on a trip and you're trying to capture videos, it's something that I've never done before, and it can be kind of hard to know what people want to see, and you also don't know like how it comes across in videos. So, Rise of Resistance, I went in pretty blind to the park because I wanted to be really surprised. I thought if I watched all the rides first, then I would kind of take the excitement. And so Rise of Resistance, I had no idea what to expect, and I wrote it. And in fact, hey guys, I see everyone coming in the chat. When I was there, they had a virtual queue. So there were 2 windows to get on the ride. You had to wake up and try to enter at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they had their second at 4 p.m. Excuse me, 1 p.m., I'm sorry. And so we got up early, and we tried to get in, and the first queue filled up, immediately. And I was like, well, it's not a big deal if I don't make it, whatever. I got to see all the other stuff, we'll try for the 1 p.m. So we get on the 1 p.m. and it's like, oh, great, cool, we're going to get a chance. And I was still like, all right, cool, like, I don't even know what it is. And then we rode it. And I was like, if I had come here and I didn't ride that, it would have been a total failure. So I'm so glad, I'm so glad we got in, because it really did blow me away. And we'll talk a little bit about that because they announced some information on the Star Wars Hotel or Galactic Starcruiser, which is going to tie right into that park. So now that I've been there, I have a much better picture of where it is and what the experience is going to be like. And so I want to talk about that a little bit later.
So basically, you were experiencing one part as they're building the other, and you're slowly kind of like getting the thing.
Yeah.
It basically invites you to come back and
And I've
explore
seen
more. The hotel is coming back.
And I've seen some of the technology you see in the pictures, like the video screens. You're like, oh, those, how those, they're in other rides, other parts of the park. Now that I've seen them in person, and we'll dive in. I'll just tell you, man, the immersion, the theming, I guess I should say, is a 10 out of 10. And I'm definitely going to make a video on it, but I was really impressed. I got something fun for you. This is for you. This stuck out to me. This stuck out to me this week. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna share our screen. So let's roll over. As you guys know, oh, you gotta let me share the screen because you're hosting this time. You gotta give me the permission.
I'm hosting. Okay, hold on.
You gotta give me permission.
I gotta give you the permission. Hold on, guys. Where is the permission thing? Share screen.
All right, let's see.
Share.
You're sharing your screen.
I'm sharing.
No, we got Inception going on here.
No. Hold on 1 second.
Why Ben's working on that. Hello to everyone. Happy Thursday. Time is changing, guys. It's getting dark out sooner. We feel sleepy. We feel like totally out of routine. And I don't know if you guys are feeling that too, but Ben and I were talking about that. We are feeling it. It is that time of year.
Boom. See, I feel like an overlord, like a minor Sith Lord that you probably like forgot somewhere in time, but I have that ability to grant you the power to share the screen.
Thank you so much, because this is really for you. It really is, because
okay, I feel special, man.
This was released this week. It was part of the Hasbro Vintage Series for the 50th anniversary. And do you recognize this show here?
Ooh, that's the show I'm watching.
That is the show you're watching.
Of course I'm recognizing it, yeah.
So they released kind of
the
small little vintage version. They released the larger Black Series edition, which I did. I pre-ordered this one, so I will have this figure.
Oh, dude.
And I'm very excited for this. But also, look at that. They got little R2 himself.
Wait, also from the Hasbro, also the show version, right?
Yeah.
I love the packaging. Look how retro it looks.
I love the packaging. You'll see it. And then here in a second, if we'll just plop this down.
These are what, 6-inch or 3-inch?
These are the smaller ones. I believe these are the 3-inch, I believe. These are the small ones. And they come with a little 50th anniversary droid token with them, which is really cool.
You know, I
So
was shocked to find out that when, like, as I'm watching the show, you know, Matt Wilkins is also like commenting on my droid shows, like, "Hey, look what Ben
that's
is watching."
awesome.
He's like, "Did you know that they originally had figurines?" But I was like, "No way, I couldn't believe it."
And so you see the 50th anniversary logo on here, which is really cool. So
Nice.
this was really cool. I'm really excited. I got this one right here, which I really like the box. I think I'm gonna put that somewhere on the shelf back there or down there. And I'm
That's
very
definitely
happy.
a cool display case.
In fact, I just picked up some Funkos this week.
Okay, the addiction continues.
It really does. I believe it's the retro series.
I'm
I think
assuming they haven't arrived yet, right?
they actually have. They're behind me.
Okay.
So they're done in the style of like they're supposed to be kind of poppy retro, kind of comic vibe. And on the back they have the cover. They have the issue cover that they're representing from the old comics.
That's quite different. Pops usually they like follow the same coloring, right?
Yeah.
The same design, whether you go like from Marvel or like Walking Dead and stuff like this.
Yeah.
This looks really,
know.
really different. I love that. He's gonna show us something.
So we
guys.
went and grabbed one. So like the kind of light blue in the Stormtrooper, and it's not going to come across super well because of the lighting. But I just wanted to show you. See, they do the issue that they're representing on the back, which I think is really cool. So I got the whole set because I love cool Funko Pops, and I love spending my money on Star Wars.
Yeah, guys, I used to work in, I used to manage a video game and comic book store for over 13 years here in New York City, in the Bronx. And Funko Pops were insanely popular. Like, I remember back in the day, customers were asking, "Hey, you got any Star Wars? Like, are any Star Wars coming out?" So that's kind of cool they're doing it now.
They're a huge business, man. They're huge. They're making so many. You know, they did like the Ralph McQuarrie versions. Did I ever tell you that?
No clue. Since, you know, I don't collect figurines, I have no idea.
I got to show you these.
And they're Funkos.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll show you. I think they're calling the concept series. Yeah. Yeah. So
Ooh, look at that. And these are like, they already came out?
yeah, they did. You can get them online.
Dude.
So they did 2 waves here. So this was the first wave, which is like the R2, the C-3PO, the Darth Vader,
Yeah.
and the Yoda. And they just released this year the Troopers, who in some of the, you know, concept art actually had lightsabers and stuff. So
I gotta say, these are my favorite Funkos.
How cool
by
are
far.
these?
Like, these are insane. These
And
are
look,
like
dude,
so cool
look.
looking.
Look.
Han Solo.
And look at the
That's
packaging.
crazy.
You're gonna love the packaging. It's got
Yeah,
that
man.
orange throw. It's so good. It is.
No, you
so
don't
good.
understand, Josh. Like, in my store, just like physically, people would come and like buy full collections, full sets. Like, hey, I got dips on this one. I'm coming next week. I'm gonna get it. Like, people love this stuff, man.
And there you go. They have all the packaging. So really cool. I like those ones a lot, and I thought a feeling you would too. Okay, enough about spending your money. We will talk more about spending our money later because that's what Star Wars has us doing. Today, the biggest story for me of the week, guys. Anyone who knows me and has watched my channel long enough has heard me talk about my love for
Representing.
Boba Fett. Yes. For Boba Fett. And we have like the first official news for the show. Yeah. So we have 2 things. First of all, we have the release date, which is December 29th. We'll talk about that in a second. And then we have the full poster. Let's open this. Let's open this up. Let's get the full glory here. There we are. Nice. With the date down at the bottom, the 29th. Now, what I want to say off the bat, first of all, let me just comment, and I'll turn over to you. I want to say that I really dig the poster vibe. I think it kind of sends the message that was really kind of set up in the end of Mandalorian. This is basically the after credit scene of that episode where he just plops down kind of like, I'm back, I'm the boss. And I love that they're kind of keeping that energy. And I think December 29th is actually a really smart release date. I went back and forth a little bit. Part of me would have loved it before Christmas because you could kind of watch it over the Christmas season and the Christmas break, and that'd be really fun.
Yeah.
But part of me loves it after Christmas because it's something to look forward to. Because I think typically at the end of the Christmas season, at the end of the year, it can be kind of like a bummer. Like everything's over. It's back to work, back to whatever. So having this look forward to after Christmas, I think is actually probably better because it's going to be like new year, new thing to talk about, and new thing to be excited about. And so overall, I think it's going to land in a sweet spot. It's going to start off the year right. And I think it's good. Your thoughts. What did you think about the poster? What do you think about the date? And then I want to talk to you about the show in general.
The first thing when I looked at the poster, I'm noticing. Remember how people noticed, and I think some of even like actually complained, like, "Oh, we don't like the fact that Boba repainted his full armor and it
Yeah.
looks like mint, and anymore it doesn't look rugged." You look at this poster, it's back to rugged, so we know some major stuff is gonna pop off in this show, right?
Yep.
He's not gonna sit there and be another Jabba, like commanding everybody, being like having generals do all his biddings, right? So it's already a promise of something. He is on top, but he's also on top of his game, right? We're going to see him in major action scenes, and hopefully, there'll be something. What I'm hoping for is, like you, I'm very excited for the fact that it's coming out post, like starting during, right before New Year, and it's going to come out hopefully throughout the, spring, towards the spring. It's that time of the year where there's like usually more subdued in terms of entertainment, and you want to look forward to something. I just hope they don't release it all at once and give us like episodes to look forward to weekly. And the only thing, honestly, again, I'm keeping my expectations pretty much low. Like whatever it is, let's see. I just want it to be separate from Mandalorian. Mandalorian has its own vibe. Now we're dealing with a different character now. We're back to Tatooine, you know?
I agree. I think the vibe needs to be unique.
Yeah.
Even though Mandalorian kind of spawned the show, right? Let's cut away from that. Let's use the new medium to our advantage. What I've talked about is this show it's up there for me. I mean, it's pretty close with Kenobi for my most anticipated show. It's hard because for Boba Fett fans, and people have heard me talk about it, when Star Wars came out, like I was so intrigued by Jango Fett and Boba Fett, their armor. I thought they were the coolest things when I was little, right? Yeah. But the characters themselves had very little time on the screen, very little things to do. It was almost like a mystique about them that really defined them more than a character. And so finally having the opportunity to see that character, to see who's behind the mask, to learn about him, I think is going to be extremely valuable, number one. And number two, it can finally, I think, give us something unique. Well, I shouldn't say finally. This could be something new. This could be something unique for Star Wars. Yeah. To your point about it being different, we haven't had a lot of these kind of stories, which is apparently almost a revenge tale. It really is. I mean, if you read the synopsis, and we can look at it now, it's the Book of Boba Fett is a thrilling Star Wars adventure. It finds legendary bounty hunter Boba Fett and mercenary Fennec Shand navigating the galaxy's underworld when they return to the sands of Tatooine to stake their claim on the territory once ruled by Jabba the Hutt and his crime syndicate. And so it has a little bit of like, I'm back in town. And this poster kind of sets it where it's like, I'm back on the throne. And so we don't get a lot of these types of stories because even Mandalorian, being a bounty hunter in the first couple episodes, Mando is capturing people. By the end, we have that good heart, that real pure heart. And yeah, we can, Boba, I think, was really respectful in his episode of The Mandalorian. He had kind of his own code he was rolling by. Mm-hmm. But it's an opportunity to see a character who's actually a bad guy. I'm going to put in quotes. This is like a hard ass. This is like someone who is not, in our memory or what we know of the character, what we've seen in stories and legends. He's not a softie who is going to be walking around with baby Grogu, right? Mm-hmm. So how are they going to do that? Star Wars always seems kind of hesitant to be too dark, too mature. Is that going to change here? That's what I'm hoping to see. Look, I'm so happy we're getting this show. And this is one of those situations where I talk about, we're in a great time for Star Wars fans. And in one of my last videos, I had someone who said, just because we have the most quantity of Star Wars doesn't mean it's all quality. Doesn't mean it's the best. So you're wrong.
Okay.
My response there was kind of twofold. Number one, we have a lot of good stuff, though. That's the thing. Like, there's a quantity of good stuff. Yeah. And second of all,
I would agree.
The stuff you love. Let's just say, I don't know this guy, but let's pretend he loves the original trilogy. It's more accessible to him than ever before. He can watch it on his phone. He can watch it on his TV. He can get it any time of the day, any time of the week. So even the stuff you love, let's say you never want to watch a movie after episode 6. Mm-hmm. It's still the best time to be a Star Wars fan because you can get access to those movies and toys and everything better than almost ever before.
No, I agree 100%. Yeah. Even when I always come back to Legends time, and I told you how I was reading Star Wars in the period where after the prequel trilogy was done, it was a surprise we even got a show, The Clone Wars. Nobody knew how long it's going to last. Just like the same scenario with the Bad Batch, where like, okay, probably that's the last hurrah, for the George Lucas and Star Wars. And after that, it's probably he's going to say goodbye and, retire and never make it again. I completely support your point of view and you can be selective. Look,
Yeah.
We just talked about it off screen, guys, before we started streaming, that I felt a little bit, overburnt, on Star Wars content. I'm taking a little bit of break. I'm not reading all the cool new High Republic stuff. All I'm doing is just like playing a little bit of Knights of the Old Republic game, and that's that. And that's the power that you have. Dude, it's like, who doesn't want more content? You can always take a break from it, right? Say, I don't want to watch it now. I want to feel excited for it. And then come back and see it at your own time. What's the problem with that? What's the big deal?
Yeah.
I'd
love to have the option.
Yeah.
Don't have to take part, but I'd love to have the option. And I think that's to me, this is just another example. And I see Jay Charge saying, I want to see John Wick vibes. I think we're all hoping for that, right? That it meets that kind of action. I was impressed, and you weren't someone who was quite a big a fan as Mandalorian season 2 as I was. I really liked his return in The Mandalorian when he came and he was kicking butt. I loved a couple things about it.
Yeah.
I like that they kept him like chunky. Like they didn't make him like skinny, unrealistic. Like they didn't put like some skinny stunt actor and then flashback. It was like, no, he's older. Like he's aging. And I kind of like that. It made it feel like, he can still kick butt. Like, yeah, he's got a dad bod, but he's there to throw down. And it was really the first example that we have seen of a fan, as the fans, of why he would have a reputation, why he would be this, incredible bounty hunter, because he like laid the law down. I mean, he took them out. He had no problems with it. Okay, you need to see that so we get a taste of like, okay, so this was a legendary bounty hunter, right? Because if he was nobody, because you don't really see it in the original trilogy.
Right. He's a nobody in the
He's a nobody.
trilogy.
I mean, he looks cool. Everyone loves the way he looked, but he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And his, Jango Fett had a pretty cool fight scene with Obi-Wan, but he was dispatched pretty quick too. So we don't really have any reference as the viewer of why this guy earned a reputation. And so when he comes in The Mandalorian and he beats people down, it was like, okay, finally, like we finally have seen it. We finally have seen this in action, which I really liked.
Josh, let me quickly interject and ask you a question. So we had this grand entrance scene in the Mandalorian show, right?
Yeah.
What kind of scene do you think would be the most powerful introduction to his own show? Like the first scene that opens up?
I know. That's I am so curious what they're going to do, because I think the opening scene is going to be, I don't know. I don't know. To me, what do you
hope for? Like, what do you wish?
Yeah. What do I want to see? I want to see him, I wouldn't mind, this is going to sound, and I might be in the minority. I'd love to hear your take on this, but I wouldn't mind if they humanized him a little bit, because we saw young Boba in Clone Wars. And I know I just said he's the first like badass, hard, bad guy we're going to see with his own show. But that doesn't mean we can't learn more about him, like what his code is, where his system, like, he obviously feels betrayed by the Jabba and his crime syndicate. So, I'd love to see his kind of journey. Like he doesn't have to be a good I love puppies and rainbows to have a good story. We can learn about him and his path. So I'd just love for us to connect a little bit with the character. Like, what's his motivation? Like, can we get a little more about his motivation? Like, we know he's this, bad, crazy cool guy, lost his father. What was that like? And so if I see some of that, I think it's going to be rewarding. And I'm hoping, so Fennec Shan's going to be a big part of it. I feel like, they called her out in the synopsis, and she's kind of become this, this right-hand man to him in a way, this ally.
His general, or
right.
lieutenant, whatever.
Right. I wouldn't mind if they did some kind of cool stuff with her, because I felt like she didn't do a whole lot in The Mandalorian. I like that she's part of the Bad Batch. That's kind of cool that we're getting some backstory. But I'd maybe like to see her flex a little bit too. Overall, what I don't want them to do is, I don't want it to feel like silly. Like, I don't want it to be some mission like just really stupid. I don't
Or be like fetch quests.
Right. Yeah. I would prefer, and look, he is a bounty hunter, right? So I'm sure part of being a mercenary is just doing odd jobs, right? So I'm sure that could happen. But he seems to be moving for a position of power. So I'm thinking almost more of like a gangster, because they specifically talk about the underworld. So I'm thinking more of like I'm taking over my turf. I got to recruit people to my side, and I'm going to run over this. I want to see those recruiting scenes. I want to see him, kind of like when him and Bo-Katan squared up in The Mandalorian, and, he eventually fought with, I'm totally blanking on her name, and they had that kind of fight. Like, I want to see him, not backing down and the recruiting stuff. But for you, you're a longtime fan. You know, you were introduced to Boba Fett at a young age. You know, did you ever care about this character before any sort of Legends content? Did you think anything of him?
No, it's like, you know what? I never paid him any mind because he's just standing there in the background. There's never a single scene that highlights him. Yeah, there's like, we have a shot that like focuses on him and he looks and stands cool. I was like, how is this dude? Because he dies in the most silly, stupid way by accident, where like Han Solo just like does literally at like a slapstick. He's like,
it was.
who, where? And then he dies. So, you know what's funny? I never perceived him as necessarily a bad guy, because when he's there to collect, you know, carbonite frozen Han Solo, he's just a guy. He's a merc. That's what anybody would do, right? So, and then I started exploring, you know, the comic books and the expanded universe. And there's one a novel by Karen Traviss in the New Jedi Order series called Bloodlines, which is one of my favorite Star Wars books, because the way that she writes Mandalorian culture, and specifically Boba Fett, is unrivaled. And like you said, it has moments there where they humanize him and they show him rugged and older self, where he's very conscious of his aging clone body, you know, that he's slowly dying, and he's a patchwork of a walking like body and prosthetics. And he's like, no, I still got it. I got to survive. I got to do it.
Yeah.
What I'm like, first of all, for an opening scene, I don't think anything would top if they flash back literally to the scene in the Return of the Jedi, where it's like Luke and Lando and Leia, they're all like bouncing, and he literally crawls out of that piece like, no, not today, boy.
That'd be kind of cool,
right?
That'd be
he
cool.
does that, and it would be interesting to see. I wouldn't even mind if they do flashbacks and show a little bit more of his past life as young Boba Fett. They could like digitize it until tomorrow, because, you know, Tamara Morrison, they could still de-age him without using computerized imagery. But what I really hope from this show is to pick up a sort of different tone from Mandalorian, because, you know, when I say I have issues with the Mandalorian show, it's not that I didn't dislike it. I'm very much a fan of it. Like, hello.
Yeah.
But what really irks me is that it was so uneven. There were clearly episodes that stood out and episodes that didn't. And what I identify as a fetch quest, it's not necessarily plot-wise where a character goes on a side mission. What makes it a fetch quest is that when it adds nothing to the plot.
That's a great point.
Right. What I hope to see from the show is that, you know, anything that Boba does, whether it's recruiting, like you mentioned, or he's in the thick of action himself, right? He's not just going to sit on the throne, is that make the episodes connect to one another, even though he's like an offshoot to a different planet, connected better. Well, so it feels more like a wholesome project.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, Nick. Nick brought some up in chat. I want to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
He says, it ticked me off when they said he wasn't a Mando, when he invented the whole culture. So I think Nick is referring to, he kind of started Mandalorians for Star Wars. Not that he really did, but that was the first one we saw on screen. And so how did you feel about that?
So, Nick, what, not to sound like, you know, pro expert, know it all, but, you know, since I've been reading a lot of Legends, I could give you a little bit of inside scoop on it. So Boba Fett is not a Mandalorian, supposedly. He's the one who adapts a Mandalorian creed. Because I was very, very excited in the second or third episode when they start showing the blacksmith, right? And they show the culture, and you see all the Mandalorians arrive and they say, this is the way. I'm like, okay, they're doing it. They're pulling stuff from Legends where they're showing you that Mandalorians are not a race of people. They don't have a special genetic identity. You even see in the old school Dark Horse comic books, species who are not even human, who are still Mandalorians. You see like big ass aliens with those helmets modified obviously for their races, and they look like Mandalorians. Like, oh, okay. So you get that part. So Boba is somebody who is sort of adapted into the culture. And once he starts following the creed, later in the, and this is all a Legends novel material that I'm talking about, because it seems like that's what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have been inspired by, and that's what they tried to introduce in The Mandalorian, where they're saying that, okay, let's keep Mandos as a creed. If you join in, you don't have to be, like, for example, for a number of years when the prequels were coming out, and Josh, you could add your thoughts to it, when we saw Tamara Morrison and a younger actor portraying the clones, right?
Yeah.
We thought that Mandalorians are those guys, and they have this like Polynesian kind of look, and that's all that they are. Well, that was never the truth during the Legends period, because Mandalorians could be anybody. Now, for you, Josh, the question is, did you identify Tamuera Morrison's look necessarily with who Mandalorians are or not.
I did when I was younger, especially. First of all, I'll be totally honest, and I this is something for all of us to keep in mind. When I was a young Star Wars fan, I
Mm-hmm.
had no idea what the heck a Mandalorian was. I just knew they were the Fets. I thought the Fett that was like a Fett armor
Mm-hmm.
because they don't. It sounds silly now because I'm educated and I know, but when you're young and you're watching these movies, they don't explain that, oh, this armor he's wearing is Mandalorian. It's kind of a older race of, typically warriors in the past. They don't say it. There's nothing like that in the prequels. You would never know. So all I knew is that there was the Jango Fett and the Boba Fett, and I'm thinking it's almost like a clan, like the Fett clan, and
Yeah.
they're wearing this armor. I had no idea what a Mandalorian was until I was much older. Well, I don't know, much older, until I was older and started reading more about Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
because they don't spell it out for you in the movies. That would be some research you'd have to do.
Yeah.
So I did kind of think that was just like, okay, like they're like you said, they're Polynesian, like they must be from this clan of
Mm-hmm.
people called the Fets. That was literally what I thought.
Yeah.
And until we dive more, and I think right now, and Mandalorian culture, I think, is one of the most interesting things in Star Wars that we're starting to scratch the surface on. I think the
Yeah.
Clone Wars, to me, everything about Mandalore is some of its strongest moments. Siege of Mandalore,
A
just
hundred
because it's
percent.
so cool. First of all, their planet design is like awesome. I think it's so unique. It's like this barren wasteland, but it has these weird cities, and the chess piece. Right here in the center is throughout the architecture. Like the windows have this.
Yeah, you see
this
that
yeah,
represented, yeah, in their
and,
art.
and I think that's awesome, and I think they have a very unique in the Clone Wars. Again, they're some of the strongest episodes, like the mythos behind the dark saber. Like they're these warring people who forged some dark sword to fight the Jedi. Like they had wars with the Jedi. Like that is so cool. I think anything Mandalorian right now is so hot. I think everyone, myself included, like we really want to see Mandalore in live action. I think we all hope. I don't think it's going to happen, but we all hope. I think that they go to Mandalore in one of these shows, whether it's the third season. I mean, look, in my opinion, if I'm looking at the second season of Mandalorian, they have Bo-Katan enter the scene, and you have the Darksaber enter the scene. I mean, she wants to take back Mandalore. Like, could we see Mandalore in season 3? I don't think so, but we'd all want to. Like that would be really cool to see
Yeah.
because I think it's one of the most. They struck gold. I don't know, if they knew when they drew this character what an influence he would be to someone who has basically no real part in the movie. It's like I'm trying to think of the equivalent in today. Like it's like if okay, it's like if in Endgame or Infinity War, like one of Thanos's guards like never said a word. He was in the background and he became like everyone's favorite. And they wanted to wear his merch and they like you know what I mean? Like I'm wearing his hat right now. Like I don't know if they knew what they had with Boba Fett. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do not know if they knew. And it's such a I think it's you talk about this a lot. That I think creators when they're making something, they do feed off fan thoughts. They do feed off of what works with the audience.
Yeah,
And
there's
so
outside influence all the time.
exactly. So I think when they built this character, I don't know if they had this whole world completely built around him and this culture and it came over time because people were so intrigued by this basically voiceless masked badass. So and I mean Ebony Maw is pretty cool. Bluebeck. Yeah, exactly. Okay, imagine if everyone was wearing like Ebony Maw merch. Wearing ebony, like it would be so weird. I think it's funny that I was at Disney. I don't have it in this room with me, but my backpack is Boba Fett. Is Boba Fett.
Nice.
I don't have it in here. So like, I mean, he really resonated with me. So I'm really excited about this show. I'm happy it's coming in the Christmas season, and it's going to segue pretty well to the next thing I wanted to just say, which is Omega, as they say in Australian, has the voice actress today put out a post on Instagram of her recording the voice lines for season 2,
Sweet.
which means they're already filming.
Yeah.
They're already well on the way of filming, and that means we're going to get Mandalorian at the end of this year into the beginning of 2022. We're going to get the show, I'm going to guess, probably in May of next year. I'm going to guess they'll probably do it around May the 4th again.
How did we get Rebels? I believe they went from fall into the spring format
Okay.
with Rebels, right?
Okay. Yeah.
From what I remember.
Yeah. I guess that's well. See, I've always wondered if that is that TV versus streaming. It's because it's streaming. We're gonna get this in a different kind of pattern. But you're right. I just think it's just crazy to me. We're getting this much Star Wars. We have Kenobi coming out next year. Like, and these are some hype shows like Boba Fett, Kenobi, and the Bad Batch season 2. Like, You and I are aligned. We both think the Bad Batch season one was really
we're like
exceptional.
spirit animals, dude. It's
Yeah.
like I think the reason that we started like your live stream, you're coming over to my podcast. It's like I genuinely enjoy talking to you because it's like I just get you. I get where you're coming from. I don't like everything that you like. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But it's like, dude, this is the best time to be Star Wars fan. Like, enough with the nonsense. Like you feel a little bit burnt out. Put a bookmark on it. Go watch and play something else. I'm playing Mass Effect trilogy right now. Big deal. I'm not experiencing Star Wars for a week or two. So what?
Well, here's the thing. You and I were completely in sync that the season 1 of the Bad Batch was awesome. There are some people who were lukewarm on it, and I still see that, and that's fine. You can like whatever you like. I'm not saying they're wrong. Yeah. I just mean I think it was an exceptional first season. Yeah. I think especially because I have recently rewatched all of Clone Wars. I rewatched the entire show this year in preparation for the Bad Batch, and this first season is so much stronger than like
I agree.
Almost the first 2.5 seasons. Yeah. This is significantly stronger. First of all, the animation is just 10 out of 10. The scoring is 10 out of 10.
Action was dope.
Action had some really great moments, and it was really an intro to the characters. And for me, the fact that we're getting another season so soon, it's just crazy. I saw an article this week about Star Wars fatigue, and it kind of ties to what you were saying, where they had been asked on an investment call where they were concerned about making too much Star Wars content, and I just don't understand it for a couple reasons. One, like you've said, you don't have to read it all, watch it all, whatever. Number two, how many how many Marvel movies are we going to get a year? No one's talking about fatigue. Like we get so many superhero movies, and you know me. I mean, I'm wearing a Justice League shirt right here. I love superheroes.
Yeah.
But I don't hear people like the thing about Star Wars is it's so diverse that even if you have a large quantity, I think it all feels different. Like Visions feels way different than the Bad Batch, even though they're both animated.
But Josh, if I can for a second, let me stand on the side of the argument of people who like feel that it's too much, right?
Go for it.
I'll be honest with you. It's Star Wars to me felt the most special when it was the original trilogy and with the announcement of prequels. And as they were coming out, regardless of how I was feeling about them,
I agree.
They felt so special. And I would agree that no matter how you look at it today, no matter how like hyper positive you try to stay, and I think both you and I are more on like kind of, we're a little older guys. We're not teens. We're not going to hype ourselves without reason.
But we're positive. But we're positive.
We're honestly positive, right? But at the same time, I can't shake the feeling that, yes, Star Wars has become this happy little product that's being just constantly delivered to us. And that sense of like, oh man, will there ever be another Star Wars? It's not there anymore because I think partially because there's so much investment into it from these companies. They're putting millions and millions of dollars, not just into making these films, but also advertising them, that there's like, there is no room for failure. And inadvertently, like, what are the two extremes you would pick? No more Star Wars? Because remember when George Lucas said, episode 3 is the last one.
That's it.
And I'm not going to make any more because the story of the Skywalkers ends with episode 6. This is what he has been saying for over a decade, right? So what would you rather pick? No Star Wars at all and just read the books that were coming out and eventually would also drop off? Or would you have a lot of Star Wars and then feel like, okay, I don't feel like doing it right now, maybe later? I'm always going to be on the side of give me more,
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
There was a time for the younger fans out there, I'll use the superhero comparison.
Yeah.
Where when you got a superhero movie, it was only Batman, which I love Batman, by the way. That's not a diss. The Batman coming out next year is by far my most anticipated movie. The trailer was incredible. So I'm not dissing Batman. My point is you got Batman, you got Superman, and you got Spider-Man, and that was it. You were not seeing these other characters. And you got the X-Men as well. I shouldn't say that. Well, the X-Men was actually pretty unique at the time, but the point is that was it basically. And so when the superhero golden age has now started, where we're getting superhero movies, I mean, Venom comes out Friday. We are getting comic book movies on the daily, on the weekly, it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there some duds, like you're saying? Yeah, there are some that feel to me pretty like I saw Black Widow this year. To me, it felt like just pretty formulaic. You know, I saw it; it was fine, but it didn't hit me the way the first Iron Man did when it was special and different and unique. You know, Shang-Chi came out, which I really liked.
I have to see that one.
But you're right. It's lost a little bit of the luster. Like when we were getting those early Marvel projects, it was like, oh, this is incredible. Like you know, we didn't have this. And now we've reached, like you've said, we've reached abundance. We have so much. We have shows. We have Hawkeye shows coming out. We have Venom.
Yeah.
We have, it doesn't have that same, wow. You know, like this is the first time I'm seeing this. You know, the first time you see Avengers, it's like, oh my God. You know, now we're on Avengers 5 and it's like, okay, I've seen them all on the screen before. I mean, you remember when Avengers came out, how incredible it was to see all those superheroes in one movie. I mean, it sounds silly now because we get that like every other movie, but it was special and we've lost that, right, with superhero movies. But on the other hand, it was better than in the 90s when all you had was Batman. You know, all you had was Tim Burton and that was it. Tim Burton's Batman. And it's this constant balance of good and too much.
I think they're being smart. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
I think they're being intelligent in not making any film announcements because, you know, it would be really interesting of an experiment if they actually filmed. Imagine that. If they film a Star Wars sequel numbered film and they don't tell us anything about it, like in the case of The Force Awakens, they actually announced it in 2012. They started filming in the beginning of the 2014. By the end of 2015, we got the movie. What if they don't tell us anything and then they tell us, hey guys, by the way, then make an announcement in the late summer, right? Like in the fall, you're getting the next sequel. Imagine how the hype.
That'd be so cool. I'm with you. I wish they would do that more, where they would surprise us. That's non-existent anymore. I was trying to find. They released some of the filming merch, and you can see the hat here with the. This is the logo, so it's got the two suns, and they had some jackets. I was going to pull it up in a little bit. So it's
official logo.
It is. This is official. This is Bonnie. This is well, first of all, she was in the documentary about a cult this year because she was part of a cult for a while before she escaped.
Oh wow.
But she is reprising her role as of Lars. What is her name? What is her name? Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. She's reprising her role, which is cool. So this is the official logo. This is, you see the little crew, the CR that's cut off in her picture. They got some crew, and so you know, this to me like will be an ultimate test for Disney, because if they knock that out of the park, I think, you know, we got blessed. You know, we got blessed with something that I don't think any of us thought we were going to see. And I'm hoping it's great. And I'm excited for Bad Batch Season 2. Excited for the Book of Boba Fett. So much.
I think, you know, before we turn over the page with the Bad Batch, because I was moderately, like, optimistically cautious and the show became what it is, it's exactly the reason it became my favorite of Star Wars shows up to date. Because it's like you're going into it like, okay, let's see what it is. Like, you're not building this like unfathomable expectation for yourself. You're just going there and experience it. And you know what, honestly, how you felt about the Black Widow, that's exactly how my younger brother experienced it. And we were watching it here in the room, and I loved it. It's like you have two different opinions.
That's what's beautiful. Well, you're Russian, so you had to like Black Widow, right? That's it. That's it.
I knew you were gonna say something along the line.
That's it. You know, the show, and I know we're gonna stay spoiler free for chat on Visions, because unfortunately we have someone on this video call who's not seen all of Visions. I think you've only seen the first 2 episodes. Is that true? Only 2 episodes?
I'm sorry, guys.
That intentionality was very unique. I think we dropped there for a second, but we're back. I thought it was very unique. I thought it was, you know, was gorgeous to me. Right. But you who know animation, tell me about it. What do you think?
Okay, so before we get into it, you are familiar with cell shading animation terminology, right? Okay, so that's what they use in video games, where they would use 3D models on characters and backgrounds to make it feel more like anime.
Sure.
Okay. Tales of Arise is a recent Japanese RPG game that came out. It has that look. You know, I've been traditionally trained, so I've studied for 4 years here in the School of Visual Arts, hand-drawn animation. And as much as I love digital art in gaming, like whether it's CGI footage, you know, like pre-rendered cutscenes where it's like in-game graphics, while I love this stuff, I am generally not a fan of any CGI films, whether it's Pixar. You know, Moana
Oh,
just stole
really?
my heart.
Okay.
I generally don't like CGI because there's just something about it that doesn't have the same quirky feeling that is done by hand. Like there's certain energy and tension that is created through, you know, handmade art. So when this show was coming out, I gotta tell you, Josh, the only episode that I was hyped about was the duel. And I was very on the fence about it because the moment that I saw the trailer, I was very conflicted. I'm like, okay, so on one side, I know it's going to be cell shaded.
Yep.
It's an art form that tries to emulate traditional hand-drawn animation.
Yep.
And I feel like it's always a cheat. It's always an escape and trying to trick the eye and say like, look, we're doing it like in the old days, but it's really the techniques are not the same. So I'm going into this episode with a little bit of a bitterness, I'll be honest with you.
I thought you would. Yeah, I thought you would. Yeah.
A little partial. And I'm watching it, and as a reader of Japanese manga, as a huge fan of anime, and as a huge fan of Akira Kurosawa, because this scene is basically a replica of the scene from Yojimbo. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's literally that. And I'm watching that episode, and I'm like, and I'm asking my brother, how long is this? Like 4, 5 minutes? I'm like, no, this is like good 18 minutes. And like 3 minutes into it, I'm like, I'm spreading my wings. I'm like, dude, this is insane.
Yeah.
What they have accomplished is absolutely insane. You know what it looks like in a nutshell? Like moving manga. And I suspect what they have done to achieve that effect, just to get into the details just a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody's here, you know, curious. So it's cel shaded. Obviously, the characters are 3D. What my brother pointed out is that those characters are standing against 2D backgrounds in some scenes. And you notice, like, when you see the characters up close, you see, like, moving lines on their bodies.
Yep.
I feel like that was added in post-processing
I agree.
as a 2D effect. So it's like a combination of things which, even to me, even to a jaded 3D non-lover, it was undeniable, man.
I am going to pull up something. I am so happy to hear you say that, first of all, because I know folks who feel just like you, who are, oh, by the way, here's the Kenobi shirt. There it is.
Sweet.
There it is. I know people like you too, who are more purists, like you said, about animation and anime.
I'm a bit of a purist. Yeah.
Right. And I appreciate that. So I was very curious as I was watching it. I had you in mind, and I actually have some here in my likes right now. I thought what worked so well for it to me was it flowed, like just in this example here, where it didn't feel jarring to me at all. It felt very smooth. I didn't feel like the characters' motions were offsetting. You know, what did you think about the color choice? I wanted to get your thoughts on that as well. Did you like the black and white with the a few accents?
It's the only
color?
way that it could have been filmed, I think, done, black and white. And just to get back a little bit to what you were saying in terms of dueling and animation, you notice this is anime, and I thought, honestly, what they would be doing is jumping off the walls, like, you know, resin balls or something like that. Yeah. They were not. They were very, very grounded, which is, again, a big surprise in anime. I'm like, wait, they're standing these characters on the ground or a piece of log that they're on, and they're just having this gritty and realistic battle. I was stunned. I loved it.
Did you catch in the background this poster up here? I don't know if you saw this on. I took this picture when they're standing there. That is the poster from. I'm forgetting the artist, but it's that classic, iconic poster. And what I liked about the red, blue, and green that they showed, you know, it felt very Star Wars to me. I know it sounds goofy because it's different. It just, those colors are so iconic to Star Wars, the lightsaber colors. Yeah. And what I really liked about the duel, I think you hit it on the head. It felt very grounded in a weird way. I mean, you have a woman with a spinny lightsaber of umbrellas. But even in that, I felt like it was subtle enough to where it was cool. It worked so well for me. Yeah. And I am now pretty excited for Ronan. I already was excited, but now that I've seen this character, who apparently is this ex-Sith, who I like that he's like apparently hunting almost Sith.
Well, we don't know that yet.
We don't.
Just because he has a lightsaber, we don't know that yet.
But he has like red kyber crystals on collection, so he must be taking them from people. Like, I got to know more about this guy, so I'm way hyped, even more so to read Ronan. Are you going to pick Ronan up?
Is it? Are you asking me if I'm going to get more Star Wars?
I was wondering if we're going to pick it up and spend.
You know what's funny also, like, to make a connect to the book, obviously, because, you know, I was hyped about the book even before I saw the episode. I knew I'm buying that book. But, you know what was also really, really awesome? But I think the duel, that episode, should stand as an example for all future Star Wars shows, because as you and I have spoken in your other previous live stream, is that I think the future of Star Wars is in the shows. It's going to be this intertwining, branching, larger galaxy that will really flesh out in that format. And what they have accomplished in 18 minutes with the duel is not only give you amazing action, but it felt like you're jumping in the middle of a story. There's so much context. There's so much world building and lore. I'm like, hey, dude, why are you rolling the credits? I want to see more.
Yet
Where's
subtle.
This stuff? Like,
Yet
it's
subtle.
So, right. It's subtle, but yet again, every image that they put on, anime has this very large, humongous stigma attached to it, is that a lot of it is very superficial. It's very on the face, like Cowboy Bebop. It's very on the face. It's all about the spectacle of it. It's all about visuals. This was exact opposite of it. Again, I was pleasantly surprised. It gives you 18 minutes of something that you wanted more of because the story was so good.
Well, let me ask you, because I think in a lot of ways, and I'd love to hear what you think, and as well as chat, as you watch this, I thought the order of the episodes was very interesting. It's an anthology series, so you can watch it in whatever order you want. But I watched it in order. I watched it 1 through 9. And it was interesting, the different tone, and there's almost no better example than going from the duel to Tatooine Rhapsody, which was like the total opposite side of the coin.
Yeah.
Now, this is what I'll tell you about it, and then I'll pass it over to you. When I saw the preview and I saw the snippets from Tatooine Rhapsody, I was like, it looks stupid. It looks garbage. When I watched it, I still have it towards the bottom half of the 9 episodes, but I liked it more than I thought. So it was like, it was still towards the bottom like I anticipated, but I actually thought it was kind of fun and wholesome in a way I didn't expect. And so it was like it was like still in the lower half of the 9, but better than I thought. So what did you think about Tatooine Rhapsody?
I saw my brother came off from work, and he's like, hey, Ben, you want to catch, a couple of episodes of Visions? I'm like, okay, whatever, let's do it. And when I saw the second episode, I was experiencing somewhat of what you have. Again, I haven't watched any trailers beyond that first Visions trailer, right?
Yep.
And knowing animation, knowing the art of animation, and it's anime specifically, that it's very eccentric and it's very out there, and it always pushes the boundaries. And we finished the episode, and my brother Joe and I are talking. He's like, I didn't like this episode. And I told him this thing. I told him, you know what? It's not my favorite, but I can surprisingly follow it and respect it and admire it and understand that somebody who is not like-minded, who has very different tastes than I, would enjoy it, because it has the heart soul and spirit of Star Wars in a very different way. For example, yes, Star Wars is not about punk rock dudes trying to get a musical career. Like, we all know that stuff. But from a sense of pushing the limits and thinking differently, this is so George Lucas, and saying like, look, if the audience or if my fans are telling me to go south, I'm going to go north. This is what creators do. And I think this episode celebrates that. It's like, hey, let's just throw the hat, throw all the bunch of ideas in there, and whatever comes out is there. But the spirit of Star Wars is about this Padawan kid, right, who lost his ability to learn further or pursue that kind of life or help his friend, because he's just a child. He's a kid. But he's still following in the footsteps of the Jedi path by trying to help his friend. And I'm like, you can't say that it's not Star Wars. It is Star Wars in a very different quirky way, but it's still Star Wars.
Yeah, and I see in chat, so a couple things. So I saw Jack say, this is interesting. So I saw Jack, first of all, say, Toby is one of the episodes, and he said it's a masterpiece. And I'll be very curious what you think when you watch Toby, because I had Toby towards the bottom of my list for a couple reasons. But when I watched it, like you had with Tatooine Rhapsody, I said the same thing, where I'm like, there's going to be people who are watching this episode who it's just really going to work for. You know what I mean? Like, you just watch it, like, this is going to work for it. I think, for me, when it comes to an episode like Tatooine Rhapsody, it doesn't have any business being good, if that makes sense. Like, it shouldn't be good. It's it's like, we're going to do punk rock and Star Wars for like 15 minutes. I'd be like, that's what you get. Lucasfilm came to you and said, make me something, and you picked punk rock Star Wars. Like, why would you do that? Like, that's where my head would be.
Yeah.
But then I see it and I'm like, well, they had clearly a vision. Oh, a vision. They had clearly a vision here of what they wanted to do. And you're right. It is in a weird way a Star Wars story, even though it's not at all Star Wars, how we would see it. I think the reason it's also kind of charming is you have like kind of cute versions of like Jabba and Boba Fett, and like Boba Fett's just kind of like when the music's going, is kind of head bobbing. You know, it's like it's just kind of goofy, in a charming way. Again, bottom half for me, but not bad. Not bad. I just there's other better episodes for me.
You know, I applaud Disney for doing this, and I just want to say I'm happy that George Lucas sold it, and Star Wars is going through this identity crisis moment and is trying to find a new footing for a new generation of fans. And this episode is a prime example of it, because look, back in the day when I was checking out anime, right, I came to US, I was 14 years old, I already knew what anime is, and I saw 2 shows back to back. One of them was Outlaw Stars, which is considered one of the best space action animes. It's like short series. And then there was Cowboy Bebop, and they were incomparable, because I can't, in all honesty, call Cowboy Bebop a good show. I just can't. I'm sorry, that show sucks.
People love that show.
If I'm offending somebody, it sucks.
It's getting a Netflix live action. I don't know if you saw that.
No, because dude, it's like I'm 12 episodes in and I still have no clue who these characters are. They're just there and just talk about the next mission. There's no motivation. There's no character exploration. There's no sense of a rhyme or reason why I'm watching this. It's just there. It looks cool. And it looks stunning. The action is amazing. The shots are great, because I believe the director is a huge fan of Guy Ritchie, and which is surprising because his Samurai Champloo series is a lot better. But I generally would call Cowboy Bebop a bad show, and I didn't feel that about Rhapsody. Like Rhapsody felt like just an episode that's not for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I gotta tell you, I want, after you watch, well, we're gonna talk about it next week, you know, in front of everyone. But I can't wait to hear your thoughts on some of these episodes, because I think some of them. So in my opinion, there are a couple you still haven't watched yet that are weak. I think there are a couple that I really don't like. Again, this is all preference. There's a couple that I really didn't love, but there are like three that are like, to me, S tier, like amazing stories. You have 3 left that I actually had the Duel at like my 4th spot. I gotta look at my final rankings, but I think I had Duel at 3rd or 4th, which is a testament to how good the other episodes are, not to how Duel. It just, I thought there were episodes still that were even surpassed it. One last thing I'll tell you, like in the Duel, that scene where she jumps up with the umbrella and like smashes down, I thought that was so cool. Like it's like kind of floats and boom. I thought it was like, you know, that kind of over the top anime posing, because there's a lot of posing in anime, right? Where you're doing the face off. I mean, that's part of the experience. And exactly. And I thought they did it really well in the Duel. It was very subtle. It was very subtle. I cannot wait to talk to you about the next couple episodes. The score in some of the episodes is like to die for. I cannot wait till they release it, because I think there's some phenomenal music.
Nice.
Well, guys, I want to wrap up here in a second, but I did want to talk about Galactic Starcruiser briefly, because today they announced that for all you rich fans out there, you can actually reserve your spot starting October 28th. So I'm trying to see what they have on the website, if they haven't even added it yet. They have not added it officially yet, I guess. But for those fans who are excited about this, and I have to say, here it is. The calendar is opening up for next year. The first is March 1st. You can go on March 1st to ride it out. You can plan all the way to September once it opens up.
May is going to be packed.
It is going to be so packed. Oh, May the 4th. Oh my gosh. After spending a week at Disney World and going to Galaxy's Edge and Batuu, and I'm going to make a video about it on my channel, let me just tell you, today, I am much more tempted than I was when it was announced. Now that I've seen the technology, now that I've seen the theming, now that I've had the food, now that I've seen kind of the work they do. It's just my opinion. I am now more tempted than I was when they first announced it. Because I was like, you know, you get these pictures and they look awesome. Like, these pictures look great. You know, oh, this looks fun. But I don't know. Do I buy it? Do I buy it's going to actually make me feel immersed? Like, I see this restaurant, whatever, you know, like, it looks great. But, I mean, I bet it doesn't look like this. But then I went to the cantina and I sat with the robot, you know, bartender over there, and I had the, you know, the drinks and I was like, this is so cool. Like, yeah, it's novelty.
A different experience.
It is. Yeah. It is.
It's
And
like
so
comparable to. Sorry, once again, I apologize.
go ahead.
It's like going to a concert.
It is. You're exactly right. And when you're there, it's like seeing a fireworks show. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can watch one on YouTube, but when you're actually there, it's so different. And so when I rode Rise of Resistance, which is so much fun, for me, it was probably the best ride I've ever been on. Not like roller coaster, like, oh, it's the most crazy. Just like the work and the detailing to me personally was one of the coolest things I've experienced. And I've been to Universal. I've been to every park in Disney World. I've been to Six Flags, several different Six Flags parks. If you're a huge roller coaster fan, no. But if you're a giant, like, I'm in Star Wars, there's a section. You see these video screens in the picture where there's battles.
Right.
There's a section where you're flying next to a whole wall like that. And it is crazy how immersed you feel. It is. It is so crazy how it feels. And so when I was in that ride, I got off and I was with a friend of mine, Galveston, who you might have seen on the channel. I literally was like, okay, like now I want to see the hotel. Like now that I've been in this, like now I want to see it. Again, I still think this is so beautiful, by the way, standing here at night is so pretty. Now that I've been there and I've spent a day in that world, I could see the appeal. I still think, unfortunately, and this is for me too. I'm not just saying that like, oh, it's not expensive for me. No, it's pricey. It's I don't care who you are. It's pricey. I think to me, this $750 a night for 4 people is still overpriced, but I could see like that's a splurge. Like that's my one vacation. You know, I'm saving up for this. I'm gonna spend $1,200 or $1,500 to go do this thing with my buddies. But for 2 people to pay $1,200 a night, like that is so. If you went with your wife or your girlfriend or your son or your brother, like $5,000, like that is so much. Like it's awesome, but like my heart is like I gotta go back. I gotta see it, but my wallet is like, no, that ain't it. So
you know what would sell the ticket more to me? I assume that's like all the props are very detailed, and all the hosts are like walking around dressed up as playing the part. You know what would really really sell it to me?
What?
If let's say you're sitting in a kind of like a lounge cafeteria, and right in the middle of things where people are just like enjoying themselves, they have like a stage theatrical performance where like a bunch of bounty hunters like running through it, like a stormtroopers are after them, kind of like throughout the whole park. Have actors play out different things, or like, hey, now you got to go to this room real quick. Like there's
so
a Sith Lord just landed. Or
they're going to have some of that. I really think so because they call unexpected story moment.
Yeah.
Unexpected story moment. Yeah.
Remember?
So So I'm thinking those moments are going to be there. And again, I don't know for a fact. I would bet a lot of money that they are going to lower the price in year 2 and year 3. They know they're going to get some hardcore Disney people who are going to spend that money now. And, it's maybe a little greedy, but they're going to pull it in as soon as they can. And I don't blame them. I'm sure it was a pain in the butt, expensive as heck to make. I think it will be worth going to at some point. I really do. I mean, we'll see all the vloggers do it. We'll see all the, Disney. If you want to send the 2 of us, let us know. We're big Disney shills. We'll get media passes. We'll go film it. We'll get
shill
in there.
all day, man.
Look, I will give you my honest opinion of how great it is if you send me there. It is gonna be fun. I just don't know if I'm there yet. But if you are, if you're a fan who's really excited and you're like, I've been saving for this my whole life. Hey, October 28th, mark your calendar. Get on there and go experience it for us. Take pictures and videos and put it on YouTube. We'd love to watch them because it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool. And they encourage you like going in costume, which I think is kind of fun.
Look, it's a perfect honeymoon and a perfect unforgettable experience if you're going with a significant other.
They want you to like dress in costume, which is really cool too. So everyone's gonna be in costume, and you're gonna get food like that's like the shrimp. It's like blue shrimp. They're gonna dye everything crazy. I mean, it's gonna be cool. I really do think it's gonna be cool. I just think it's out of a lot of people's price range. I mean, look at some of this food. This is cool. We'll look at the food real quick. I mean, look at this.
Wait, briefly, I wanted to ask you something. Yeah. What was the food like that you tried?
Okay, so the food I had in Galaxy's Edge, I had a couple things. They had a breakfast wrap. So they have this restaurant, and I'll show you guys footage when you walk in. I'm totally blanking on the name, but they serve like kind of wrapped. It's supposed to be like there's like a big ship engine supposed to be like cooking the meat. It's rotating, which is really cool. And they have like it's a killer like breakfast sandwich. It's like this like long sausage, egg, cheese, and this like sauce. They call it something else. They call it like, you know, some animal and whatever. It's supposed to be themed.
You're
But
right.
it was killer. I mean, for a breakfast sandwich, it was killer because it was like the sausage was cooked where it had like a nice little snap to it, you know, a little crispy outside, which I really like.
Yeah.
And the wrap was like soft, and so it was killer. I had blue milk. I
Oh, you
tried
had blue milk.
I had blue
How
milk.
could you cut off the live stream without telling the fans that you
I
had
know.
blue
I
milk?
had blue milk, and it was good. It was not what I expected.
Did old cynical Luke just serve you blue milk?
Well, they had green milk too, by the way. So you could get green milk if you're a fan of the sequel trilogy and you like the
Interesting.
yeah. I didn't try green milk. They had a bar. It's kind of like this lounge, and it's for all ages. It's a bar because it's themed like, you know, you're in you know, the cantina. And, you know, what's really cool about it is every drink is supposed to be, you know, out of this world. So like mine had dry ice in it and bubbles, so it's like bubbling the whole time you're drinking it. You know, it's just fun stuff like that. But what's really cool about Galaxy's Edge, Batuu in general, is they don't play any music. They just play Star Wars sounds, like engine sounds, like, you know, animal noises. And you might think like, okay, why is that a big deal? Well, anywhere else in the park you go, it has like the songs of the whatever world you're in, you know, like
Right.
Toy Story, you know, whatever. But when you're in Galaxy's Edge, when you're in Batuu, it's like so immersive. They've built it in a way. They've built it in a way where you cannot see the rest of the park when you're in there. The way they built the fake mountains and the way, and so then they play the music, like the Star Wars sounds, the engine sounds, the you know, certain animals. It sounds like ships are going overhead. So you
Nice.
feel no music. So you feel like you're in Batuu. And to me, that's like a little touch that I thought was really cool.
So there's like sound design. So even in terms of food and sound, they want you to be immersed.
Exactly. It is the most immersive of all the places we went, in Disney for sure. And it's got to be so much fun to work there. I mean, can you imagine? You get to dress up in like Star Wars gear all day, and you know, that's just awesome. So
When you were talking about the sandwich, like the morning sandwich, I was kind of sold. I started salivating right now. I gotta go
it's
eat
so
something.
good. It's so good. You know what? I love me a good breakfast sandwich. You know, guys, that is actually a good comparison. Now, if you go to Galaxy's Edge, it's much more moderate. It's much not as busy as it was when it first opened. This is probably gonna be a lot like that. You know, there's gonna be those people in that first year and a half where it's crazy, but you can go years and years later, like I did, and it's gonna be cheaper and it's gonna be a little more empty. And you're going to have just as much fun. So if you are, you know, wanting to see this and it's just out of your price range right now, join the club, number one. And number two, hey, you can get it in a couple years. It'll be just as fun. You'll have a great time whenever you get to go. So, well, that is all I had to share tonight. Let's pass it back over to our main screen here. And you're going to have to tell us any closing thoughts here. I just switched to our Visions background. We're back. Any closing thoughts? Anything you wanted to tell chat about your week? Anything going on in your life?
No, I just had a slower week, like producing content, even like touching anything Star Wars, because I just really needed that break to reboot, reset, and jump back into it. And when you coming into something like it's really nice that you brought the Visions segment, and thanks for not spoiling too much. But when you like just in the middle of a week where like you just feel kind of like down and like whatever and job related stuff is bothering you, and just switch on Visions. And you're like off the top, you're not expecting anything, and it just manages to blow your mind. It's like, hey, it's a wonderful time to be a Star Wars fan.
I like the midweek releases. That's the one thing I'll wrap up on here. I kind of do. It was fun Friday night to go watch Bad Batch, but I'm with you. Kind of the pick me up in the middle of the week is nice. I like the pick me up in the middle of the week. Well, guys, thank you everyone who hopped in. We are back. Fortunately, we're now synced up because we've been in a crazy scheduling period. But a lot to look forward to in the next couple weeks. Hope you guys have enjoyed Visions, and hopefully someone here will finish it and we can talk about it more next week.
Look, I promise. I'll finish
Don't rush
Visions. We'll discuss it next week.
All right, guys, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again very soon. Have a great weekend, guys.